Keep on moving on.
Yes, hello, good afternoon, and welcome to the LFS Podcast live here on this Friday afternoon. And what a dramatic day it has been for the transfer window. Some incredible twists and turns all the way through the afternoon. Two huge sagas we're going to talk about today. The Moises Caicedo saga. Where will the midfielder end up? Will it be Liverpool or will it be Chelsea? Still no closer to getting an answer to that. Plus, Harry Kane. He's going to be flying to Bayern Munich and completing the deal. And it will be a race against the clock to try and play in the Super Cup tomorrow evening. Plus, we'll be building up to the Premier League returning tonight as Burnley take on Manchester City, the Premier League champions. All of that here on the LFS podcast this afternoon.
Keep on moving on.
Well, let's get underway then. And it's been a saga that's been massively reported on. There's been so many contradicting reports this afternoon on Moises Caicedo. And let's just first, before we get to the latest news, run you through exactly how this has panned out. So we started yesterday evening. Now, all through the summer, Chelsea have been bidding for Caicedo. Their latest bid was around £80 million yesterday evening. Now, that was rejected by Brighton in the recent days. However, there was a bit of a ramping up in the story yesterday evening after reports were suggesting that Liverpool were also interested and Bayern Munich were also interested in Moises Caicedo. It then moved that Liverpool had made a bid of £111 million for the player, which would be, by the way, a British record. No one has ever paid that much for a player in British transfer history. Now, that was reported that Brighton had held an auction for the player and that Liverpool's bid of £111 million was the highest bid. Now, according to Brighton and according to reports that were reported last night, the auction meant that the highest bidder at 12 midnight, that was midnight this morning, so around about 17 hours ago UK time, the highest bidder would be able to speak to the player and conduct the medical and personal terms, etc., etc. Now, that has developed. Apparently, in the early hours of this morning, Liverpool and Brighton were getting the papers ready to move the bid on, and Liverpool were ready to book a medical for the player and to get the player basically signed today. However, this morning it developed in the bright hours around 8-9 a.m. in UK time, as Caicedo was ready to move to Liverpool for his medical. Chelsea had apparently told him to stall. They said for him not to go yet and to allow them another chance with Brighton to get another shot at trying to get the midfielder. Now, the midfielder allowed this and is currently still, from the latest news that we have, in London. Hasn't gone to Liverpool yet, hasn't gone to Merseyside, and there's no indication that he has an idea of doing so today. However, this is all developed because Chelsea wanted to stall the player because they felt they still had a chance to get Caicedo from Brighton. Now, Chelsea had been stalling all morning. Liverpool's bid has stayed. Nothing's changed on that front. However, the player hasn't moved forward. Chelsea wanted him to stall. The player agreed to that and suggested that the player agreed to stalling because he felt loyalty to the club and wanted to give Chelsea another chance at it because they have been in for the player for quite a few months. Of course, if you remember back to the January transfer window, Chelsea wanted to sign Moises Caicedo. Caicedo was ready to go to Chelsea, but Brighton blocked the move in January due to the fact that they didn't want him going because it was mid-season and Brighton had ambitions, which ended up working out for them in the end. But this summer, it's all been dramatic. Now, rumours earlier this afternoon were suggesting that the player only wants a move to Chelsea, and that's coming from one source. However, other sources are suggesting that the player will be open to both clubs, but wanted to allow Chelsea another chance as they've been in talks for a lot longer than Liverpool. So basically, what is going on there is there's no indication from certain sources that Caicedo would refuse a move to Liverpool, but wants to give Chelsea another chance for loyalty reasons. But some sources are suggesting that he does only want to go to Chelsea and Stamford Bridge. Of course, Sky Sports are the main ones reporting that. But again, so many different sources giving so many different bits of information, we actually don't know what the player wants at the moment. Of course, Melissa Reddy, of course, of Sky Sports has been reporting that the club, the player side, the agent of the player, has been quite shambolic and has been feeding stories this afternoon to certain different news outlets and journalists to try and put more pressure on Brighton to make a decision. Now, at 1 o'clock, Chelsea were trying to persuade Brighton to hold on. Brighton are getting fed up. Brighton are losing patience because they wanted this done before the weekend, before the Premier League season starts. They play Luton tomorrow at 3 o'clock. They want this deal resolved by then, or even before then if possible. That's why they set the deadline of 12 midnight yesterday for the deal to be done. However, Chelsea at 1 o'clock this afternoon, around 1 o'clock, it was reported that Chelsea want Brighton to hold on, allow them a chance to make a further bid, but they're growing over frustrated. They said that they would only accept a bid. This is according to certain reports. This has not been confirmed by Brighton, but they've said that they only want to accept a Chelsea bid or any other bid if they bettered Liverpool's £111 million. If they matched or bettered that, it will be up to the player to then decide where he wants to go. But still at this point, we do not know where Moises Caicedo would prefer. Of course, a lot of sources predicting both ways. Some saying he would be open to both choices, Liverpool and Chelsea. Some saying he would only want Chelsea, but no other information. Then at 3 o'clock, Miguel Delaney, who was previously reporting that the player only wanted to go to Chelsea and that Chelsea were willing to get the move done, Miguel Delaney further reported at 3 o'clock that Chelsea were preparing a package to get the deal done, with a player swap included, with a possible option for Chelsea to break the impasse, because of course there's been a big impasse here. Chelsea are kind of at a crossroads. What do they do? Obviously, they must not be able to pay the £111 million or more outright, and they were wanting to add other involvements into the package to try and persuade Brighton to take that. However, no confirmed Chelsea improved bid has been submitted, as we know, as of yet. At 3:40, very reputable Liverpool journalist Paul Joyce reported that Chelsea are ready to beat Liverpool's bid for Caicedo in the coming hours, with the club feeling the player would favour a move to London over Merseyside. He also reported that Brighton want the saga resolved before the weekend and are open to improved bids being submitted. Now, a lot have made the point, well, if Brighton set the deadline at 12 midnight yesterday, why are Brighton now open to more bids being submitted? What was the point of the deadline yesterday evening? And that's a pretty fair point to be made, although I don't think Brighton are probably going to accept a 120, 130, because what will be the point? I mean, I get that it's an extra 10, 20 million, but from my point of view, Brighton have made an agreement with Liverpool and a deadline. That's a transfer strategy. If you keep that strategy, you lose all your reputation. If you then renege on that and go back and say, look, yes, we agreed this with you, but we're getting more money from him. We're going to go to him. You know, how does that suit Brighton's reputation? It doesn't seem like a Tony Bloom type of thing to do. Of course, Tony Bloom, the Brighton owner, and it doesn't seem like that's a thing that they want to do, but you never know. Transfer sagas are quite nuts. Now, that was the latest that we heard from Paul Joyce. There's not really been massive news in the last hour. still, Liverpool's bid still stands of £111 million. That's the only bid so far that's been accepted by Brighton. No other bid has been accepted. Apparently, Bayern Munich we're going to go for a £90 million bid, or €90 million, whatever that was. Chelsea were willing to go 100, but Liverpool going 111. That is the only bid so far that has been accepted. Chelsea haven't submitted an improved bid for the player, so nothing above 111 has been submitted yet. But apparently, according to reports, Chelsea are readying that, but we're yet to see the proof in the pudding. Chelsea are yet to submit a bid to really change Brighton's mind. And if they don't do so, I'd say before midnight tonight, I would say, if they don't do so, I think Brighton will say, look, the deal has already been agreed with Liverpool, and the player will probably move. But the question still remains, we're still unsure as to whether the player wants the move. Some reporting he does, some reporting he doesn't want the move to Merseyside. So we're still in this limbo phase of, well, Chelsea want to go for another bid, but haven't submitted another bid yet. Liverpool have their bid submitted, which has been accepted, but the player won't go to Merseyside to agree personal terms and a medical. So both Chelsea and Liverpool are in limbo. The only club that aren't in limbo at the minute are Brighton, because they've said their goodbyes to the player. They know the player is going to one of these clubs. Whichever club, they're getting a truckload of money. Let's be honest here, they're getting a minimum of £111 million for this footballer, who they paid £4.5 million for 2 years ago. It's an incredible deal for Brighton all round, whoever Moises Caicedo goes to, but so far we are none the wiser as to where he will be going. There is no indication that Chelsea have submitted any further bid yet, and Liverpool's bid is the only bid that's been accepted. But he is still in London this evening from our latest reports, and there hasn't been an update. Of course, I keep refreshing and trying to find any sort of credible reports that suggest that anything has changed, but yet the latest that we have is exactly that. There is an impasse here. Chelsea haven't submitted a bid, Liverpool haven't got the player to do a medical yet, so the player isn't going either way yet. Nothing more has been made. Although we will return to this story before the end of the podcast, but that is the latest. There's nothing really more. You can get involved in the chat if you have any comments on this, because this is a huge, huge story. Of course, we have a poll running. Where will Moises Caicedo end up? 55% of the chat predicting a Chelsea move. That's just gone to 58. Just moving at the moment. But the majority, narrow majority, but a majority, saying that Moises Caicedo will end up at Chelsea. Still quite narrow, that vote. So keep your votes coming in till the end of the show, and I'll reveal the outcome of that at the very end of the show. But yeah, Moises Caicedo, the move has not been decided yet where this player is going. And we will wait to see where Moises Caicedo does go, because who knows? Genuinely, no one actually knows what's going to happen here in the next few days. Or the next few hours, not even days. I don't think we'll get that far. But the next few hours will certainly be interesting, because if Chelsea do submit a further bid, what will that bid be? Will that bid be accepted by Brighton? If it is accepted by Brighton, I would fully expect the player to move to Chelsea. But if the bid is not rejected, or the bid is rejected, or Chelsea don't submit another bid, then I think Brighton will lose patience and the player will end up going to Liverpool. But so far, there's no indication either way as to which way the player will go. Still, a lot to be decided. And this is absolutely nuts, by the way. I mean, I haven't seen a transfer saga like this in a long, long, long time. Absolutely sensational. Right, we're going to move on to another transfer saga. So, Moises Caicedo looks to be at an impasse, and we will give you any updates as we're live. And of course, tonight we've Burnley against Man City. I'll be doing the commentary of that one, so join us for that later this evening, and we'll give you any updates to that story as it breaks throughout the evening. But Moises Caicedo has not decided, or there hasn't been a decision made on where he's going next.
Keep on moving on.
Right, well, from that story to this story, Harry Kane to Bayern Munich. Now, there's been a bit of drama about this today as well, but this is the final latest. We have a conclusion to this story. Harry Kane is on his way to the airport to fly to Germany and complete his £100 million move to Bayern Munich. His plane is set to take off at reportedly at 4:50, and around 5 minutes' time, it's meant to take off from Stansted Airport. The Tottenham captain was informed shortly before 3 p.m. this afternoon that the transfer had been agreed and he could travel to Munich for his medical. The deal will comprise of an initial £86 million fee, with add-ons taking the price close to £100 million, which is a Bayern Munich and Bundesliga record fee. After Kane was told that a deal had been agreed between the clubs on Thursday, he decided to accept Bayern's offer. Bayern boss Thomas Tuchel described the bid to sign Kane as the club's highest priority on Friday. "We are trying to get the captain of the English national team out of England, out of the Premier League," Tuchel added. "That says it all. It is a huge deal that we're working on, a huge signature that we are working on, but we are still in the process." Well, new Tottenham boss Ange Postecoglou confirmed Kane's transfer was imminent in his press conference this afternoon. In his press conference, Postecoglou said, "I had a conversation with Harry the first day I arrived. He was upfront and honest, and I was the same. You kind of get an indication that he had made his mind up, that if the clubs agreed a deal, he would go. It's only fair that on a day like today, our supporters do have a sense of mourning and loss, as despite the lack of success at the club, he's been a hero to them." Well, of course, Harry Kane is kind of in a rush. He's in a race against the clock to try and get to Munich this evening, because he wants the move. He wants the deal done, the medical completed and the deal completed tonight or similar times, to be able to be registered in time for the German Super Cup, which takes place tomorrow evening between RB Leipzig and Bayern Munich. If he is registered in time, he could be involved in that game tomorrow evening, but yet no further indications on whether that will be the case or not. There will be more, obviously, to come on that story later this evening on whether Harry Kane will be available for that. He still has his medical to do, which, of course, from reports from Germany, believe that there is a hospital close to the airport, close to the city centre of Munich, where he will complete his medical, and that will be completed this evening. Whatever time this evening is unknown at this moment in time, but it will be done this evening, according to very reliable reports from Germany. But yet to be known about that. But Harry Kane is 100% going to Bayern Munich. The deal has been agreed between the clubs, and Harry Kane has accepted the offer from Bayern. He's on his way, literally should be lifting off from Stansted Airport right now, and he will be going to Germany, to Munich, to meet with Thomas Tuchel, to get his medical completed, and to complete that £100 million move to Bayern München.
Keep on moving on.
Right then, we are coming towards the end of this, and our last update is the Premier League preview. Of course, the Premier League returns this evening with the champions Manchester City going to newly promoted Burnley. Of course, Burnley manager Vincent Kompany, the former Manchester City captain, who won multiple trophies with the club. Now, there could be a lot of excitement towards this game tonight. Looking forward to this one. It's going to be a big game for the Premier League champions. A huge atmosphere at Turf Moor this evening. Of course, you can keep up to date with it here on LFS. We'll have the live game for you tonight. 8 o'clock kickoff. We'll be live from around 7:45, 7:50 with the live commentary with me, Kevin Ferris. Burnley against Manchester City tonight to kick off another Premier League season. And of course, that is alongside 3 other games we'll be doing this weekend. Brentford Tottenham on Sunday, Chelsea Liverpool on Sunday as well, and the Monday Night Football Manchester United against Wolves are our 4 Premier League games this weekend. But Burnley against Manchester City, let's just have a look at some team news before the game. Of course, the teams won't be confirmed till 7 o'clock this evening, but a bit of early team news. Burnley could hand debuts to summer signings such as James Trafford, Zeki Amdouni, Sander Berge and Dara O'Shea. Michael Obafemi, who has joined the club after a loan spell at Turf Moor last season, is ruled out with a hamstring injury. Manchester City boss Pep Guardiola says Croatia centre-back Josko Vardiol is available for his first appearance after joining from RB Leipzig for £77 million. Fellow defender Nathan Ake is fit despite missing the Community Shield against Arsenal with a minor injury. And midfielder Mateo Kovacic could make his league debut for City after moving from Chelsea in June for an initial £25 million. So a few debutants we could see this evening for Burnley against Manchester City, and it will be an absolute cracker of a game. So make sure you do not miss any of that to come this evening. We are looking so forward to getting the Premier League back here in LFS, and I cannot wait to commentate on the very first game of the season. Looking forward to that one. Right. Well, we are moments away from wrapping up because I have to get prepared for the game this evening, but don't go anywhere yet. We're going to give you an update on the Moises Caicedo story, a big recap to come. We're going to do it actually quite now because we are running out of time, so let's move on then. Back to that Caicedo story. Of course, that saga still continues. It's not changed anything in the last hour and a half. Of course, the latest that we have is that Chelsea are willing and readying an improved offer to Brighton. Brighton are open to improved offers for the player. However, yet nothing has emerged as of yet. Liverpool's bid of £111 million, which would be a British record, is still the only transfer fee that has been accepted by Brighton and Hove Albion. Yet to find any further details on that, but at the moment, according to some reports, Caicedo only wants to move to Stamford Bridge. That is according to Sky Sports and other sources. However, there are other reliable sources from the other side saying that Caicedo will be open to a move for both clubs. It just depends which one Brighton would prefer. And at this moment in time, Brighton have only accepted one bid. We are yet to see a Chelsea improved bid. If their improved bid, well, there was murmurings that it could be closer to 150 million, the Chelsea improved bid, but none of that has been backed up. That was just one source that was relaying that information earlier this afternoon, but nothing more has been confirmed. Chelsea are yet to improve on their that Liverpool bid of £111 million. I am frantically trying to recap, to reload the page to see, is there actually any more updates? So far, I am yet to see any reliable sources saying that there is a move. But yet to see. Of course, Jurgen Klopp in his pre-match press conference this afternoon was talking about that the clubs had agreed a deal, but gave no indication as to whether anything else was being made clear for Liverpool at the moment. The Liverpool boss was quite vague on that matter. Same with Mauricio Pochettino, the Chelsea head coach. He was very vague on the situation, said he wasn't going to speak on any players that weren't signed at the club and wasn't going to talk about transfer speculation as of this moment in time. Roberto De Zerbi, the Brighton head coach, had made it very clear that he was not coming back to Brighton. He had said his goodbyes and he has already forgotten about Moises and has said that the player would not be coming back to Brighton and they need to move on. And which they are moving on. Of course, Brighton play Luton in their opening Premier League game of the season tomorrow at 3 o'clock kickoff. And Brighton want the deal resolved before 3 o'clock tomorrow. They do not want this saga to drag on over the weekend and into next week. They want this deal done tonight, which, in my personal opinion, of course, I have no backing to this or I haven't got any further updates on this, but from what I feel, Brighton are losing patience. They want the bid. If there's going to be a bid, they want the bid in as early as possible. They want it right now. If it's possible, they want the bid right this second. And if the bid's better than Liverpool's, they'll probably accept it. However, the longer it drags on, I think Brighton will become ever more impatient, will lose patience with Chelsea if they don't improve a bid and say, look, we're giving up here. We're not holding out forever and ever and ever. And I think Chelsea at this moment in time are frantically trying to gather a package to offer to Brighton, which to me seems, well, there was reports that it could be a player swap could be involved. Of course, I mean, to be honest, what players would Brighton want from Chelsea that Chelsea are going to offer up that's going to improve Brighton's squad? I don't think that's what Brighton are looking for. They want the cash so they can go and get their own players to improve their squad, to cash revenue, and keep doing what they've been doing over the last few seasons, Brighton, buying players for cheap and selling them on for big money. Of course, let's not forget, Moises Caicedo was signed at Chelsea 2 years ago, or signed at Brighton, sorry, I'm getting ahead of myself, signed for Brighton for £4.5 million 2 years ago. They're going to sell him on for at least 111. That's a minimum profit of £106.5 million for Brighton at this moment in time, which is a sensational amount of money for a football club like Brighton. No disrespect to Brighton, but a football club like that getting £106 million of profit on a player is incredible. Honestly, it's probably one of the most exciting sagas that we have seen in recent transfer history. You know, this has been boiling over since probably last summer, when there was initial indications from clubs in England that they wanted to sign Caicedo. Brighton weren't open to offers last summer. They weren't open to offers in January either. Of course, Chelsea came in with a bid in January. That was outright rejected by Brighton earlier in January because they didn't want to sell a player that was key to them mid-season. Of course, remember, if you do remember back to this, if you've been following this saga, Moises Caicedo uploaded to his Instagram a statement, a goodbye statement to the Brighton fans in January, because he was anticipating that he would be moving to Chelsea in January. However, Brighton blocked it, said, no, you're not going anywhere. You're staying with this club. He then proceeded to sign a new contract in March. He signed a new contract with Brighton in March of this year. And it just shows you, just around 5 months later, the player has created another saga. There's another saga surrounding Moises Caicedo, and two huge clubs looking to sign the player. Chelsea and Liverpool looking to sign the player. It looked like there was only one destination for Moises Caicedo for the last few months, which was Chelsea. But Liverpool looked to hijack that bid, that effort to sign him yesterday evening with that £111 million bid. That was supposedly going to be the deadline. That was going to be it, according to Brighton. But Brighton still open to offers, according to reports that we've received in the last few hours. They're still open to any improved offers this evening. But I think the longer it goes on, I don't think Brighton will hold out. I don't think they will hold out any longer than this evening. I think they will get fed up and say, look, if nothing changes in the recent times, you're not getting him. You know, if you don't give us an improved bid, which is worth what we want you to give us, you're not getting him. And remember, crucially, although Liverpool have agreed a deal with Brighton, we don't know what that deal is. There are multiple different types of a deal when it comes in an agreement. When it comes to clubs, there's a verbal agreement, which basically means the clubs, if by a certain point, if the buying club agrees personal terms with the player and gets everything sorted, the selling club will say, look, verbal agreement, we'll turn that into an official agreement. We don't know if Liverpool have a verbal agreement with Brighton at the moment. We don't know if it's a agreement in principle. An agreement in principle still means that Brighton can look at other offers, which probably seems to be the more likely option because Brighton are open to other offers. The agreement isn't a standstill offer from Liverpool. The bid has been put in. It's been accepted by Brighton. The agreement has been done, but I think it might be more of an agreement in principle than an official agreement because Brighton wouldn't be able to step back from an official agreement. They probably have just an agreement in principle, which makes this kind of a more sticky situation than probably any of the clubs would want it to be. They would want this to be done and dusted and out of the way by now. But yet, we are still awaiting any Chelsea bid. It is now 5 o'clock on Friday the 11th of August, UK time. We are now 1 hour and 20 minutes past the latest reports from Paul Joyce. Let me just remind you what Paul Joyce reported at 20 to 4 this afternoon in the UK. Paul Joyce reports that Chelsea are ready to beat Liverpool's bid for Caicedo in the coming hours, with the club feeling the player would favour a move to London over Merseyside. He also reports that Brighton want the saga resolved before the weekend and are open to improved bids being submitted. That was the very, very latest that was revealed at 3:40. No further updates from any credible sources in the last hour and 20 minutes. That is the utmost latest information that has been handed out. No more information has been given. And also, by the way, there have been some reports that Chelsea are also in for Michael Olise and trying to get that bid done at the same time. I mean, I don't know what's going on with Chelsea. Where are they getting all this money from? What happened to FFP? Are they not being, investigated or something? My goodness me, how are they able to spend so much money? Remember, they spent £700 million over the last two windows. In the last 11, 12 months. Where's all this money coming from? This is not sustainable. Plus, Chelsea are desperate for a midfielder. Liverpool are also desperate for a midfielder. Both teams want this midfielder. Who knows what way this will progress throughout the evening? But one thing I do know is that if you stay with LFS, Live Football Streams, which is our full name, but if you stay with LFS on the LFS Podcast, we'll be coming to an end shortly. Not just yet, but we will stay with you in case there are any updates in the next few moments, and we'll chat more through this. Get your comments on the chat if you have any big comments on this, any details, any opinions. Get them in the chat. At the moment, this poll in the chat at the moment is suggesting 50 votes so far from our viewers. 64%, that is a 2/3 majority almost, predicting that Moises Caicedo will go to Chelsea. Still no indication officially about that, but that is the way our chat is giving this evening. Very nice to see. If you've got any comments on that, let's go. But as I was saying, yes, Chelsea are looking at other bids, looking at other players. They want Michael Olise from Crystal Palace. They're trying to get that deal over the line at the moment. That's a big one to look at. There was also the Tyler Adams stuff that they were talking about earlier. That deal at the moment is off, according to Chelsea. They paid the £20 million release clause, but of course with this whole Caicedo stuff, the deal for Tyler Adams has stalled. That doesn't mean that if Chelsea don't get Caicedo, they won't go back in for Tyler Adams, or if any club will go back in for Tyler Adams. We don't know that yet, but at the moment the deal for Tyler Adams to Chelsea is off, is what the latest news that I am hearing, and that what I have received this evening. Still awaiting any further information from Chelsea. Nothing further has been updated, but the latest news is that we have that Chelsea want to give a further offer, but there's no indication there's no official confirmation that Chelsea have submitted an improved offer as of yet. Whether that will come in the few hours, we do not know. But do stay up to date. LFS will keep you all the way up to date. We have Burnley against Manchester City tonight, 8 o'clock. We will be live from 7:45, 7:50, so around about just over 2 hours, just short of 3 hours, that is, for the Premier League game. And if any updates in between then, we might come back on live for another update. But do stay tuned on all of our social media platforms as well. On Twitter, TikTok, also back on Instagram as well, at LF Streams too, on those platforms to stay up to date with the latest information from LFS on the Moises Caicedo drama. Honestly, who knows what way this will end up, but what we do know is that Brighton want it resolved tonight, whether he will end up in London Blue our Merseyside Red is still as far away as it has ever been in the last 12 hours. But Moises Caicedo, the move, where he is going, whether it be London or Merseyside, is still hanging in the balance. Do join us for Burnley against Manchester City tonight, live on LFS. But that's it from the LFS podcast this week. Hope you enjoyed this live episode. We might do more of these if there is support for them. Do let us know if you would like to see more LFS podcasts in the future that are live. Who knows? We might do more of these. But for the moment, Moises Caicedo to Chelsea or Liverpool, it's still very much hanging in the balance. Bye for now.
Get